Okay, welcome everyone. This is week 11 and final week. And so we're going to be discussing what's known as immortal games. A few games have been passed down in history. I mean, we were discussing historical games, but these are specifically known as immortal games. And we're going to see why. So the first game. Oh, first of all, actually, what is an immortal game? Anybody just give me a quick definition of what do you think I mean when I say an immortal game? What do you guys think? Any ideas, suggestions? What do you think?
Assuming famous.
Very famous, yeah. Surviving well past the player's lifespan. Just amazing, brilliant moves, you know. So definitely not your run-of-the-mill moves. So let's see what happened. So this is the first one. It's called Ukrainian Immortal, Korchmar versus Polyak, 1931. So let's see what happened here. All right, so e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop e5. So real quick, what's the name of this opening?
Ruy Lopez.
Yeah, Ruy Lopez, also known as the Spanish game. So the idea of this is, again, e4, e5, both trying to control the center. Knight f3, attacking e5, knight center pawn, and knight c6 immediately defending, and then bishop b5, putting pressure on the knight that is defending the pawn. So there's a few, there's a lot of different ways that Black could respond to that. First of all, this is not a real threat of winning the pawn for a few reasons, because number one, there's like a little weakness here on g2. Also, the pawn on e4 is also unprotected. So Black can really win back the pawn pretty easily. So for example, a very standard line is a6. This is not what happened in the game, but a6. So here, if Black wanted to go, or sorry, White wanted to go all out and greedy and try to get that e5 pawn. So now what do you think Black could do here? What do you guys think?
Queen to g5.
Yeah, so there's two ways that I see. Queen g5 is one of them. So let's see. So queen g5, maybe he goes knight here, take, and now, so it kind of, yeah, it's an interesting line. I mean, the rook becomes active, the h-pawn is isolated. The king side is completely destroyed, so you would probably have to castle queen side. So there's that. Another idea is, let's see. So another idea, what's another way that that Black could recover his pawn? What do you think? Anybody have an idea? Any ideas? One more way to recover the pawn. So I mentioned that the g2 pawn is weak and the e4 pawn is weak, right? So queen g5 took advantage of the weak g2 pawn, right? And so queen d4 would take advantage of the weak e4 pawn, right? So that would be like a little fork there. And there's really no way that that White can protect both the knight and the pawn. So you probably have to just return to f3, maybe take, take, and now it's just equality, right? So the game will continue, yeah, so that's one possible line. Just showing you that bishop b5 isn't really a big threat, right? So another line is just knight f3 for the same reason that, queen d4 is always there. So, white can castle and yeah, so stuff like that. All right, so let's go back to the game. So bishop b5, so he went d6, which is kind of passive because the bishop is now blocked in, right? This is a dark square pawn chain. So in a sense, we can say this is a bad bishop, right? Maybe he's going to fianchetto here on g7 and push f5 and maybe try to have influence over the long diagonal. So that's a possibility as well. All right. All right. So d6, d4. So with d4, white immediately displays intentions of striking at the center as soon as possible, right? So another reason why d6 is not such a good idea, because now the knight, so basically black just walked into a pin, right? Before, the knight was not pinned, right? Now the knight is pinned, right? So he just walked into a pin willingly. Not always a good idea. D4, and now that's kind of threatening d5 if he doesn't take, right? So yeah, so bishop, so his move is bishop d7. So he could have taken here, take. That's a possibility too. And now there's just a lot of pressure on c6. That's kind of uncomfortable. All right, so let's go back. So d4, bishop d7, knight c3, knight f6. Okay, general developing moves. Castle, knight takes. Okay, so now this is a good idea that who do you think is more cramped? Who has more? Oh yeah, who has less space in this position, white or black? What do you think?
Black.
Yeah, black definitely has less space, right? So the bishop is blocked. This bishop is in a very passive position. Whereas look at the nice activity of the light square bishop and the dark square bishop. A lot of activity. So black is definitely passive, and this pawn chain kind of is obstructing a lot of black's movement. So the general principle is if you have a lack of space, do you want to make more exchanges or less exchanges? What do you think? More, yeah. You want to create more space for yourself. So knight takes d4 was a good move on black's part. Knight takes d4, bishop takes. So now a couple of exchanges occur. Knight takes. Okay. So now black's a little bit happier, a little bit more relieved. The bishop and the knight are removed. Now he's ready. He's ready to castle queenside if he wants. But on the other side, white has a beautifully centralized queen on d4. Usually, it's not a good place for the queen. But if the queenside knight is not there to harass the black queen, then it's pretty comfortable square for the queen to be on. All right, so queen takes d4. So now this queen is a very nice location. Okay, continue bishop e7, rook d1. So now this is white's half-open file to work with, and black has the e file. So white immediately moves to exert pressure along the half-open d file. All right, castle. So now, what do you think? What do you think would be a good move for white here? What do you think?
E5.
Yes, excellent. E5. Yeah. So we have a rook and a queen bearing down on the d file. The queen is only protected once by the knight. So add even more pressure, right? Don't let your opponent consolidate his position. So e5, of course, the pawn cannot take because then he's going to be losing a knight, right? Two pieces are bearing down on d7 and only one is protecting. So e5, very nice move. So he's forced to move the knight to e8. Okay, what do you think? What would you play here for white? Monty, I see you're talking, but you're on mute. Oh no, I still can't hear you. Oh, maybe there's something wrong with your microphone there. Maybe type it, yeah.
There's another Monty here? I've never met another Monty.
Oh yeah, that's right. There's two Monties. There's Monty Busho over there. That's awesome. Yeah, I've only rarely met another Danilo too, so not too common of a name. All right, so Monty says, is the choice E6 or E takes D6? Let's see here. So E takes D6, I think that would kind of alleviate again. So remember, this is a point of tension right here, right? The pawn can take on E6, on D6, right? So again, the person who's lacking in space, which is black, would welcome exchanges, right? So if we take on D6, he can just maybe come back with the knight, and now he's happy, right? Now he just, moves his queen out of the way somewhere, maybe like something like that, and he's doing pretty good. But if we keep the tension, like black cannot take this pawn, right? So we need to, how do we maintain the tension and increase pressure?
Knight to C5.
Knight to C. Oh, so knight cannot go to C5. Do you mean B5 or D5?
B5.
So knight B5 doesn't work because the queen will
right.
take. So yeah,
That was brilliant.
yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Anybody else?
Bishop to F4.
Yeah, bishop to F4. So we still have this bishop that's undeveloped, right? So why not, develop it? This is kind of, you can say, developing with tempo. What does that mean, developing with tempo again?
Initiative.
Right.
And
So
not an incentive. Oh,
Well, you-
forget it. Got the wrong words.
That's okay. It's okay. So you develop simultaneously doing another function as well, either attacking or increasing pressure, right? So in this case, increasing pressure along this H2 to be a diagonal, specifically the D6 pawn, right? So very nice move, bishop F4, right? Connecting the rooks and increasing pressure. So very dual purpose move there. All right, so A5, and now Rook D3, right? So now White's looking pretty menacing. Either he's looking to triple attack along the D file, or he's looking to move the Rook over to maybe G3 or H3 to exert pressure along the king side. So does anybody know what is that called when the Rook does this maneuver up and over? What is that called?
A rook lift or
Rook lift. Yep, rook lift. Very good. So that's a very common maneuver, very effective maneuver to do. So, all right. So Rook D3. All right, Monty comes back. All right, Rook D3, and now we have Rook A6 to bring further protection on D6. So you can see how this pin on the D files is pretty much crippling Black's development, right? This knight cannot move at all. The knight is completely trapped on E8, and then hence the rook on F8 is also trapped, right? So this is a very nice situation for White and impeding the development of Black. Okay, so Rook A6. So now he goes Rook E1. All right, so he chooses to bring his last undeveloped piece onto this E file, which seems like it will be imminently opened. All right, so it was a good idea. Rook E1. And we have Queen F5. So he finally brings his queen away from all this pressure along the D file. Okay, so now we have. All right, let me ask you guys here. What would you play? White to move. What do you think?
Why not take with the pawn on D6?
All right, so let's see. So we can take, let's see, we take the pawn. We are exposing an attack on the bishop. The bishop can kind of take back, and if we take, I guess, what would we do? Take again. Now we're just helping black to free himself, basically, by engaging in those exchanges. So yeah, for the moment, this tension on e5 and d6 is doing a really good job of hampering his development, right? So we don't want to alleviate his cramped nature just yet. So what else can we do?
Rook to f3.
Rook to f3. All right, that's one idea. Let's see, the pawn falls, but is that important? Maybe. I mean, maybe that's not important because we got all these pieces here aimed at the king, so that might not be important. Yeah, okay, it's an idea. It's not what he played, but it's an idea. What
See,
else?
knight d5.
Yeah, so knight d5 is the move he played. So again, knight occupying a centralized, very powerful location at the same time as attacking an unprotected piece, right? So again, dual purpose move right there. And then, of course, if he takes the bishop, it would be a royal fork after that. So can't allow that. So bishop d8. So now black decides to take on d6, and I guess he wants to open up his e-file for the rook. So let's see, knight takes. Okay, so now he switches the rook over, rook g3, and what is the immediate threat here with rook g3?
There's a mate.
Yeah.
Queen g7.
Right.
Mate.
So it's immediate called in your face mate, queen and rook helper mate along the G file on G7. Right. So immediate mate threat there. So he goes F6. So now what would you do if you were white here?
Knight takes f6.
All right, let's see. Knight takes F6. Yeah, the pawn is pinned, but there is sufficient protection still. So he could bring the bishop to life, protect G7, and attack the queen simultaneously. So doesn't appear that effective. So what else?
I'll be right with you.
Rook E7.
Rook E7. Ooh, that's a pretty good move. I really like that move. Okay, so that move is threatening converging on G7 with the two rooks. And it appears that the bishop can take the rook, but would that be a good idea? What do you guys think?
No, that would
Why?
be the royal fork.
Excellent. Yeah. So the rook is immune due to this, the royal fork still being there, right? So that's a very good move. I like that move a lot. Taking the 7th rank and also very effective, very good, very strong.
Thank you for letting me sit in. I've got to run. I'll see you again. Thank
Okay,
you.
no problem. Yep. Take care. Have a good night. All right. So rook e7. Yeah. So that's not what he played, but it's a good move. All right. What else? Any other ideas to continue the attack? So now he's really going for like a king side attack over here. So how do we continue?
Bishop G5.
Bishop G5 here, right? No, we can take and now actually
Oh, and no,
Black's
we can't. Yeah.
yeah,
no good.
black's going to be become pretty active now along the F file. So no, let's go. What else?
How about bishop to h6?
Yeah, very good. Bishop h6 was the move he played, right? So very nice move. The pawn is pinned to the rook, so moving forward g6 would not be a good idea. And he's also threatening again to come on to g7 and capture and open up the king side. So yeah, it's a good move. All right, so rook f7, and now, so now what do you think here? So white to move. What is the best move for white here? What do you think?
Knight to F6.
Okay, knight to f6 again. Bishop
Check.
can just bishop can take, and it will be yeah,
Why?
black's very comfortable here.
Well, I
So
think that was a good move.
so this is the moment in the game. This is the critical moment right now where you can say this game turned into an immortal game, right? Because white played a pretty pretty profound move here. And it's not hard, not difficult to, or not easy to find this one. So yeah, so I'll give you guys a couple more tries. What do you think? See if you can figure out what move was played here.
Okay, this is a long shot, but what about knight to e3? Putting pressure on the queen.
Okay, so knight to e3. Okay, that's true. It does attack the queen. The problem is it also blocks in our rook. So you don't usually want to restrict activity when you don't have to, to your pieces. So yeah, knight e3. Maybe he just drops back, and now black's doing pretty. He's not that bad here, right? So let's go back. So yeah, what else? Any ideas? And if you want a hint, let me know, because this is a tough one.
I want a hint.
You want a
No,
hint?
I want to buy a vowel.
Well, all right. So you want to buy a hint. All right. So let's see here. The idea behind this combination right now is that E8 is a very important square. Amazingly enough, in this combination, this ensuing combination, right? So the rook on E1 has access to the entire E file, right? Especially E8. That's kind of the key to this combination. Yeah. Does that help you all? I don't know if that helps anyone. I can give you another hint, but that's the first one.
Well, if you could get him to capture your knight, you move your knight to C7 and hope the bishop takes it, but that's a lot of hope.
Okay, so let's see. Knight takes C7. Let's see here. Okay. Actually, no, that does not work, right? I'll tell you why. So knight takes C7. Now, what would be the follow-up to that? What would be the follow-up?
I didn't think that through, right? Really what I was thinking about trying to do is find a way of removing that knight on D6.
Yeah.
I haven't figured out how to
No,
do that.
you're thinking in the right direction because
How about the bishop to F4?
bishop to F4. Oh, down back here. No, I think the bishop is doing a good job here of putting pressure on G7, so we don't want to retreat that. But so Monty has a good idea, because when I said that E8 is going to be the focal point of this combination, the only reason that the rook cannot go to E8 is because of the knight. So then the next question is, how can I remove this knight, right? So currently our knight is obstructing the queen's access to the black knight, right? So that's a kind of a hint of what the reason white played the following move. So let's say, for example, knight takes c7, right? If you play knight takes c7, that doesn't work because bishop takes c7, and now I'll show you why it doesn't work. Queen takes, let's say if we remove the knight because we want to get access to e8, now the problem is he can take back with the bishop, and then rook e8, but now he's got the bishop and the rook together, and now everything is all protected, and he's fine, right? So that's the only reason that doesn't work. So, but you're right, you're on the right track that this knight must be removed. So what else? What's another possibility we can do?
Did we already say knight e7?
Knight e7, no. But
Okay.
again, it doesn't work because bishop takes, and again, if he takes, actually, he doesn't even have to take with the bishop. He can just take with the rook, let's say, and now the e file is obstructed, the e8 square, he can't get to it, right? So let's go back. So what else?
Well, could you move your queen
Where do you want to
to
move to?
c5?
Queen to c5. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, so now you're threatening to take the knight, but that's not really a forceful move. That's the problem with that one. So now you're giving black a chance to retreat. So now he's covering the e8 square with the knight and the queen. Right? So it's kind of slow. So we need a move that's going to be forceful, right? So go back to the the hierarchy of forceful moves. First one would be what? What's the most forceful move? Did you
Check.
say? Yeah, check. Check's the most forceful move, right? So we already considered knight takes f6 and knight e7, and rook e8 would just lose the rook for no particular reason. So forceful moves are out, right? So then we look at captures, right? So now, these are all captures. Bishop takes, rook takes, but it's sufficiently protected. Knight takes, no good. Knight takes c7, no good. And queen takes c7, no good. You lose your queen. So then we move on to what? What's the third most forceful moves?
Protect.
Say again?
Protect.
Threats. So yeah, so we have checks and then captures and then threats. So the threats is the third most forceful move. So now, if we want to move this knight, how do we move the knight and create a threat simultaneously? What do you think?
Did we already say knight e3?
I think Greg said 93. So 93, it is a threat. Problem is we are now blocking our rook. Right, so that's the problem. We want the rook to have access to e8, right? That's important for this combination. So yeah, we said knight takes c7. We said knight takes f6. We said knight e7. We said knight e3. So what's left?
Knight to b4.
Knight b4. Yes, amazing move. So yeah, knight f4 doesn't really create a threat. Knight b6. It doesn't really create a threat either, although it does expose this threat. But knight be4 does a nice job of threatening the rook, simultaneously threatening to take the knight, right? So let's just see what happens if he captures the knight. So yeah, so black did capture the knight, and now white takes the knight on d6. Okay, so now if black decided to take the queen, so now does anybody see what would follow if black chose to accept the queen sacrifice? What would follow?
Then the rook could go up to e8.
Very good. So now we start with e8 check, forces rook f8. Now what do we do?
G7 check or rook G7
Rook
check.
takes g7 check, king h8, mate, right? So this is a forced mate in 3 if the queen sacrifice is accepted, right? So the queen sacrifice cannot be accepted due to that. So queen takes d6. So black is forced to retreat to d7, right? And of course, if he takes the queen, then now black has an escape square in f7, so it doesn't really work anymore, right? So all right, so queen d7. So now, what do you think white played here?
How about bishop to g7?
Bishop to g7. Oh, take here. I mean, it doesn't work really. You just lose your bishop. He's black so far is sufficiently protected, right? So yeah, so you don't want to take just yet. So what else?
I'm lost. Can't the queen take the queen though?
You mean white takes the black queen?
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, he can take the queen, but now the mate threat no longer works because black can just escape to f7, and if he takes on g7 now he takes, and so it's going to just lead to simplification. Actually, no, it's going to be why black that's winning by an extra rook. So yeah, so we don't want that. Yeah, he's going to lose a rook. White's going to lose a rook. All right, so let's go back. All right, so here, white to move. What is the best move? Let me know if you want a hint. It's not easy either.
Does rook at G to E3 work?
G to E3. Not really. Now he can take the queen, rook down, and now black's okay and actually is winning. So yeah. All right, what else? Would you guys like a hint? This is a tough one. Although when I explain it, I'm sure you'll understand it immediately. You know, when you hear the reasoning behind such moves.
So you've got to remove the queen as the defender, right?
So the queen, yeah, okay. So the queen must stay on d7. Actually, the queen must stay on this diagonal, right, to defend e8 right now. So that kind of explains what why white made the next move, the move that he did. The queen must stay on that diagonal. So you can kind of say that the queen is pinned to this diagonal in a sense.
You could try to draw the queen away by playing rook g4, but it's definitely not forceful.
Rook g4, yeah, not forceful. Actually, no, that's losing because he can just take your queen and he's still protecting e8, and black's winning. Yeah, yeah. Remember, right now our queen can be taken one, two, three different ways, right? So with queen d7, black has protected e8, which means that our queen now is in danger of being taken by the pawn or the rook. So that's also yeah, that's also kind of a hint as to why he did his next what he did.
Is it queen d4 or d5?
Which one? D4 or D5? Which one you want to do?
e5.
D5. Good. Well done. Now, what's the reasoning behind it? Why queen D5 is such a powerful move?
It pins.
One square away.
Yeah, if the queen takes, then you got the mate you just did.
Yeah, the queen takes, so the mate still is in existence there, and queen D5 pins the rook. Now rook takes G7 is a threat. Right? Very nice threat. And of course, if white is allowed to play rook G7, there will definitely be a mate. If he goes to F8, he can take with the rook, and now that's a discovered double check, right? With the rook and the bishop. If he goes back to H8, then we can take the queen, rook takes, and then rook to E8 is mate, right? So yeah, so white can't allow, or black can't allow white to take on G7, right? So so black played king F8. Okay, and now what do you think white played here?
Bishop G7.
Okay, bishop G7. Let's see here. Rook takes G7, and where's your follow-up?
I was still thinking it was pin. Never mind.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. King F8. He released the pin there. Yeah. All right. What else? This is another brilliant move right here.
Queen c5.
Queen C5 check. So now the bishop comes in, and now Now black is pretty well protected. So right. So now the e8 square is no longer accessible. So yeah, I think that kind of helps black a little bit. So yeah. All right. What else? You guys want a hint for this one? This is a tough one.
Yes, hint, please.
All right. So so currently the rook on e1 controls the whole e file. And now we have rook on g3 and bishop on h6 converging on g7. Although right now they're both sufficiently protected. And now if you notice, the rook on f7 is simultaneously protecting the queen and the pawn on g7, right? And now what do I always say about that situation? That means that this rook on f7 is overworked, right? Because a piece cannot realistically protect two things simultaneously, right? So that means that how do we, yeah, it's overworked or overwhelmed, right? So how do we take advantage of that fact that this rook is doing too much?
Bishop takes G7.
So bishop takes G7 and rook takes G7. And now kind of black is okay. Black is doing pretty good. So it's not that.
Rook to G7.
Rook to G7, yeah. So what's the difference though? There's a very fundamental difference, right? Because if the rook takes, that would be a big mistake. Why?
Because then you can take the queen because the rook is pinned.
Now the rook is pinned, right? Now the rook is no longer protecting the queen, and the queen is free, and then mate will follow on e8, right? So there's a big difference, right? So now the question is, what if he just takes the white queen, which is what he did? What now? So now we only have two rooks and a bishop left. So how does white finish off black?
Rook G6.
Rook G6. Okay. All right, so that forces rook G7. And now what would you do?
Bishop takes rook.
So bishop takes, and now king f7, and now yeah, so now the rook is being attacked. So you can just retreat it, but now black's gonna just come back and there's no more attack, right? The rook comes over, so there's no more attack. So what else? So we said so yeah, so here you said queen takes d5. Okay, so what's white's
Rook.
next move here?
Rook takes H7.
Okay, rook takes h7, check. Okay. King can come over here to g8. So now what are you gonna do?
Then it was rook to E8.
Rook e8 now?
Yeah.
So now you just lose your rook. And now, yeah, now the king escapes and now black wins. All right, what else?
This isn't a mating combination, but I mean, just going rook to G5 to take the queen.
Rook g5, yeah, that does win the queen, true. So I guess you could do, let's see, take here, check, take
No,
here. Say again?
I'm sorry, never mind. Yours is better.
What? No. So all right. So this forces rook g7, And you could take the queen,
Right.
but why not deliver this check first, right? This is called what's this called when you have a goal, but then you do move before you actually do that goal. What is that called? You guys remember?
Zwischenzug.
Zwischenzug, or in between move, or intermezzo, right? So we want to take the queen, but we can just take this rook, win some material pretty quickly with check. King comes up, and now we take the queen, and now if he takes our bishop, we can take his bishop. So now white is winning, true, but it's not mate. So yeah, you could do that if you just wanted to do win that way, but there's actually a pretty sparkling finish here. What do you think?
Rook to G8.
Rook to G8. Wow, strong move. So now, why is that a strong move? So can you see to the end of the combination? What do you think?
Well, the king takes the rook, and then the king is stuck on that, so the other rook comes up and mates.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is a discovered double check, right? Very powerful technique there, forcing the king to take. There's no other move, and then rook and bishop are left only. And in Paul Morphy style, rook e8 check, rook must protect. Rook f8 is mate with the last two pieces. Isn't that amazing? And as we learned in a previous lecture, came to be known as Morphy's mate, or sorry, the opera mate, not Morphy, the opera mate, right? Named after the opera game. So yeah, that is the Ukrainian Immortal game. What do you guys think? I'm
That was pretty good.
I'm sure you could all play a game like that. Yeah, it's amazing what these people, the thought process is like very, when you look at the move itself, like knight b4 move on the surface is like, why would you do that? You're just losing a knight, but it's got a very, very logical and very profound purpose, right? And so I think that's one thing with chess that you learn as you play, is that it's a logical train of events that leads you to the brilliant moves, and when you do that, you understand the brilliant moves, and then once you understand them, they become, I don't know if they become less brilliant, but they become more understandable. All right, cool. Is there any questions with that or comments, or what do you guys think? Enjoy that? Cool. All right, so we got a few minutes left. So I think we could do some miniature games, if that's okay with you. I always enjoy miniature games. So first of all, what's the definition of a miniature?
Well, a miniature is something small, so
Oh,
would that
yeah.
imply that a miniature game would be over in a relatively small number of moves?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I think technically miniature is defined as less than 30 moves, but usually they're less than 20 moves, sometimes even less than 10 moves. So very quick, very short, very violent and action-packed games, right? So let's look at this one. This is Siegeberg Tarish versus Eckart 1890 in Nuremberg. So let's see what happened here. E4, E6, D4, D5, Knight D2. First of all, what's the opening? What's this opening, this setup? What's this called? Anybody know? This is known as the French defense. French defense. And I don't think you got to be French to play it. So, all right. So yeah, French defense. Knight D2. So yeah, so basically white gets a nice center and black tries to attack the E4 pawn. There's a lot of possible responses. Could be E5, which consider the advanced variation. You can just protect the pawn with bishop D3, knight C3, knight D2. They're all okay continuations. So, all right, so he chose knight D2, C5. Okay, so immediately attacking the other center pawn. Right, very good. C5, E takes D5, queen takes D5. So now this pawn is in danger of being captured and won. So then we have knight g to f3, c takes d4. Okay, so apparently black, or sorry, for white for the moment sacrificed this d pawn. So let's see. So usually, you know, when a person sacrifices a material, especially in the opening, what's the reason somebody would sacrifice material? Why would they do that?
Gain some kind of positional advantage later
Right,
on.
initiative, yeah, attack or increase accelerated development, right? So here you can see the queen is the only one that's developed, whereas white has 3 minor pieces and is ready to castle. So definitely accelerated development here. All right, bishop c4, queen moves over, castle. So now see the queen's the only thing developed, and white is all safe, ready to mount an attack. So pretty good compensation, I would say. All right, b5 again, another pawn move. So black neglects development of his minor pieces. Probably not a good idea. All right, bishop d3, bishop b7, finally develops a minor piece along the diagonal. Knight b3. So opening up the bishop, same time as attacking the queen. Excellent move. Queen d5. So now he wins back his pawn. Knight b takes d4, a6, c4, b takes c4. So now it looks like white just sacrificed his pawn, but actually he didn't. How would white win back c4? What do you think?
Queen to a4.
Yeah, queen a4 check, very quick little fork here. So that's an easy way to win it back. Queen d7, queen takes c4, knight c6. All right, and we have bishop c2. Wow, what a move. Why did he do bishop c2? What do you guys think? What's the purpose behind that?
Maybe to set up a pin on the knight.
Yeah, very good. So black or white notices that black's king and queen are on the same light square diagonal, right? So white says, all right, so let me reroute my bishop onto a4 and try to set up an uncomfortable pin, right? Good idea. All right, bishop d6, bishop a4, very nice, very uncomfortable pin. Knight gd7, bishop g5. So yeah, so it looks like this knight is well protected with the knight and the bishop and the queen. So bishop g5 is a good move to just remove one of those defenders, right? And increase pressure here. So this knight is very weak right now. Rook c8. So now again, bishop takes just to remove, you know, most of the times, you know, I tell my students that bishops are usually preferable, right? You see top players don't want to give out their bishops so easily for a knight, but in this case, this knight is so weak that giving up this knight, the bishop for the knight, is worth it to further weaken the knight, right? Bishop takes e7. So of course he can't take back with the queen, because then he's just going to win a piece on c6, right? We have 1, 2, 3 pieces attacking and only 2 defending, so the knight will be lost. So he's forced to take back with the king. All right, and now how would you increase pressure on c6? What do you think?
A rook on c1.
Excellent. Rook on c1, right? Very natural, very strong. Rook a to c1, right? Okay, so now the king is off the uncomfortable diagonal, but still the queen is there. So, but here, black played knight a5, hoping that some exchanges will happen. You know, maybe they're going to trade queens somehow, so that all that pressure will be alleviated. So, what do you think white played here? What do you think?
Knight to f5.
Knight to f5. Wow, that was quick. Why'd you choose knight f5?
Because if the pawn takes, then you bring the rook over.
Right, very good, very good. So this king is very vulnerable, right, in the center. So, you know, a lot of students will say, well, maybe, you know, if I trade queens, if I take the queen on d7, then the rook can just take, and it's just going to be a trade of pieces, and the game will go on, right? So that's what black would love. Of course, taking here doesn't really work so well. Yeah, I guess you kind of do win the exchange, but yeah, so a lot stronger would be knight f7, knight f5 check. Very nice move. Okay, so now, yeah, if the pawn takes, then you know, we have a lot of things. We have queen h4, let's say. Ooh, yeah. So here's all right. Here's another critical moment. If the pawn takes, right, we can check. Maybe black says, okay, now I'm going to try to check here, and then king moves away, and then I can take his queen. But the problem is now the queen can protect, right? So the best move here was queen to h4 check, right, delivering a check along the diagonal where the queen cannot intervene, right? So now if the king goes back, now we can take the queen check, and now white's definitely winning there. So yeah, it's a very nice move. So he doesn't take the knight, he goes king to f8. Okay, and now what would you play here? What would you play? So I'll give you a little idea of what's going to happen in a couple moves. In let's see, in 3 moves, black will resign. I don't know if that helps you.
I'm thinking queen times the rook on c8.
All right, so let's see. Queen takes c8. So if the queen takes, we have rook takes, bishop takes, and then knight takes the bishop, right?
Yeah.
And now, yeah, and now white's winning by an extra piece. Very good. So if he takes with the bishop, pretty much a similar thing. Bishop takes d7, bishop takes. Again, the last the bishop on d6 falls, and now white is winning by an extra rook, and that's a very, very easy win. So yeah, this game was over in 22 moves. Very short game, very quick game, and yeah, I think this game shows how important it is to not go pawn, you know, not get greedy in the opening. You know, focus on developing, get your king to safety, that kind of thing, because this kind of punishment could happen to you. All right. Any questions? No, cool. All right. So, just curious, how many of you are actually interested in signing up for the next? I think it's the next 11 weeks.
More than
the
likely
same-
I am.
Monty, yeah.
For the same program, you mean, with you?
Yeah. I think it'd be the same time, Mondays this time, 7 o'clock. Yeah, or wherever you are.
I'm interested. I never heard anything though on email.
Either did I.
Oh,
And
no, really?
I didn't either.
Oh, yeah. I can email you the link. Yeah, starting next week is is week 1 of the next
no idea.
11 weeks. So
Are you going to cover games again like you did this time?
yeah, definitely. If that's what you guys want, I'm open to it. So yeah, so it's most people
Please
here interested.
please send me the information.
Cool. All right. And how'd you like Samantha? How'd you like the class?
I liked it a lot, and I'd like to continue in the summer. I still kind of feel like I need to do the rookie class, but I saw that Evan's teaching that on Sundays. Doesn't really work schedule-wise, so I
Oh.
might brave taking class with you again.
Cool. Is it, do you think I go too fast, or is it, you understand?
No, I think I'm just a lot of things are going over my head. It's me,
Oh.
it's not you.
Okay. Well, I think you're in good company though. So everyone's learning, right? We're all improving slowly, even me, definitely me. So yeah. Hopefully I can see you guys. I will email you the link if you don't have it, where you can sign up for the next 11 weeks. All right.
Sounds perfect. Thank you.
Yes. Excellent. No problem.
Thank
Great seeing you
you.
guys again, and I will hopefully see you guys next week.
Okay,
Thanks very much, Daniel.
No problem.
take care.
Have a good night.
night.
Thank you.
Daniel?